Good day. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a GPO, a group policy object, and an OU, an organizational unit, on Windows Server 2008. Before we get into the good stuff, let me explain a little bit about group policy objects. In Windows Server 2008, group policy allows IT administrators to define user and computer configurations for groups of users and computers. It gives them the power to create specific desktop configurations for a particular group of users and computers by using the Group Policy Microsoft Management Console. The group policy settings that they create are contained in a group policy object, GPO, which is in turn associated with selected Active Directory containers such as sites, domains, or organizational units, OUs. So, with all that being said, if you want to restrict certain privileges to users in an organization, you would use a group policy, and you can put those users in organizational units or OUs and apply the group policy settings to those organizational units, and all the users that are in those organizational units will have the same permissions. So I'm about to show you how that is done here in Windows Server 2008. Okay, the first thing we need to do is that we need to go to our server, which is already open here, and go to Administrative Tools, and then we want to go to Active Directory Users and Computers. Just need to open this window here. Alright, so that's open. Then we're going to go back to the Start menu, and then Administrative Tools. Then we want to go to Group Policy Management and open that as well. Great. So as that's open, you can see Forest we have here, and we just need to expand our list here, so we're expanding everything. And you see the domain, expand domain here. Right, let me just fix this window for you. Great, so as you can see clearly here, we have domains, we have the forest, but our focus here now, alright, is our domain. So I'm selecting this, and I'm going to right click, and we need to create a new organizational unit. This OU is what we're going to create in order to put the users in, as I will show you, so that the policies can apply to all the users that are being put in the organizational unit. Of course, we need to create a GPO as well and apply it to this organizational unit. So let's start by creating our organizational unit. So let's click on New Organizational Unit, and let's give it a name. We can call it, let's call it Test OU. Great. And let's click OK. Great. So you see we have a Test OU here created, and it appears in our list. Next, we want to highlight Group Policy Objects right here, and you're going to right click, and you're going to click New, and that's going to put a name for our Group Policy Object. So we can call that Test GPO, and let's click OK. That's done, and if as you see, it appears in this list right here. Great. Right, so as we created our test GPO, we want to edit the permissions of this GPO here, so we have to select it and we're going to right click and click edit. Now here's where the fun part is. There are so many configurations we have here for group policy. They broke it up into two categories. There's computer configuration, there's user configuration. But today we're just going to focus on user configuration. So as I expand policies, and you can see there's policies for software settings, Windows settings, and there's administrative templates that are already created for us to apply to existing GPOs. And we have preferences as well as here, Windows settings, stuff for control panel. So you can go through and fiddle with and check to see what options they have, and you can practice it on your own time. But we're just going to go into administrative templates, and I'm gonna maximize that. And after that, you want to go into all settings. Now let me just expand this window here and show you something. Here is where we have a whole list of settings that are available for us to tweak. This gives IT administrators a whole bunch of flexibility to customize their group policy objects. Look at this here. Add new programs page. It's also prohibit theme color selection. Each of these things is a different configuration, and it's so detailed. Each item gives you flexibility to change stuff in Windows to prohibit users from accessing a lot of stuff. Alright, for this video here, I'm just going to I want to disable the task manager so that the users cannot access task manager. So let's have to look for that. Here it is. Remove task manager. Alright, so if selected remove task manager, and have to double click on it, and we can enable this. Enable it, and we can press OK. Cool. So now that this has been enabled, we can now exit this group policy here. Exit this. Right. And next, we have to link our group policy to our organizational unit. So you see we created our group policy here, and this is our organizational unit, right? So in order to do that, now you may ask, well, why I have to do this? You have to link the GPO to the OU so that all the policies that you have applied or enabled can be set to an organizational unit, which of course will house users. So all the users are going to be in the test OU what we created. They will inherit that group policy that we created just now. Alright, so in order to do that, we just have to select our test OU, right click, and you say here link to an existing GPO, and we just click on that, and we're clicking on the one we created, which is test GPO, and then click OK. Right, so you see we have one linked GPO that's in our test OU. This still doesn't affect the users as yet unless we add the users to the organizational unit, which we're going to do now. Let's close this off, and let's go to the computer I'm going to apply settings to. Is Windows 7. Alright, so normally if you right click on the taskbar, you see Start Task Manager. So when I add this user, which happens to be Jane Doe, to the test OU I created, Jane Doe will not be able to access the task manager. Yeah, so let's do that. So I'm going back to the server, and let's select Windows Server, Alright, and you see Jane Doe here. Click. I'm going to select Jane Doe, and you have to move Jane Doe from here. Click move, and I'm going to put Jane Doe in the OU, the organizational unit, as we created. So we just select this, and we click OK. Great. So you see Jane Doe is no longer here. Now we can check to see if our group policy is working. So you're going to go, we close this off here, and you can go back to Windows 7 and right click here, and you see Task Manager. Well, you do have to log off the user and log back in for the settings to work. So let's do that right now. So let's press start and go into log off. Let's log off Jane Doe here, and I'm going to log back in. Great. So I'm going to log back in Jane Doe. So when I right click on the taskbar, I should see the Task Manager disabled. Right click here, and as we can see here, the Task Manager has been disabled. See, I can't open it. Great. Now this is just a simple example of how you can use GPO and the organizational units. Like I said, there are hundreds of different configurations. You know, when the server has been built for professionals who can tweak this thing, you know, to the point where it becomes perfect for an organization to use for the employees. You know, you don't want employees messing around with your settings and stuff like that on their computer, giving them administrative rights. You know, so to prevent those mishaps from happening, we have GPOs and we have organizational units. Great. So that's the end of this tutorial here, and stay tuned for more videos coming up.